we have decided. Declaration number 2. We declare that the time for staying home and away from our root system is over. Therefore, we have decided to give ourselves to be planted deep into the soil of relationship with God and others. Those who are planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of our God. They shall still bear fruit in old age. They shall be fresh and flourishing. I want to make an application of the images used in this verse. Though not a literal interpretation, it certainly is congruent to other passages of Scripture on this topic. I would like to suggest that the house speaks of family and the court speaks of intimate worship. And the composer of this song, most likely David, is describing the healthy condition of the persons living in the community with others, the house of the Lord, and in the intimate place with God, the court of our God. I also suggest that both are required for our lives to flourish, and who doesn't want to flourish? The Hebrew word translated flourish is a feel-good and powerful description of a life of health and vitality. It means to bloom or bud, as in a plant, to spread, as in extending the wings to fly, to break out, grow, spring up. What a refreshing, encouraging word, flourish. This is the condition of life carried out in vital, intentional relationship with others and with God. The social distancing due to COVID-19 and the forced shutdown of many activities that encouraged community have resulted in an unhealthy disconnection from relationships. The root system that is essential for a flourishing life has been damaged by this disengagement, and many are not recognizing the impact it is having on their physical, emotional, and spiritual health. We've all heard the story of the frog in a pot of cold water that is heating up a degree at a time. Because the change is slow and incremental, the frog doesn't understand it will soon be boiled alive. By the time the frog realizes it is in danger, it's too late. When we first disengage, sometimes out of necessity, it is easy to get used to the reduced effort of not working at significant relationships. It is easy to then begin to believe no longer need these connections, but realizing that the water is heating up. It is time for us to awaken to the life-producing value of community with others and intimacy with God. Time for disconnection to be recognized for its detriment to the health of our soul and the awakening of our influence on the world around us. The writer of the book of Hebrews instructs us to place a priority on community. Let us consider one another in order to stir up love and good works, not forsaking the assembly of ourselves together, as in the manner of some, but exhorting one another, and so much that more as you see the day approaching. It is time to recognize and value that our faith is to be lived out in community, not isolation. It's time to be planted, not scattered. To be stirred up in love and good works doesn't take the place outside of close encounters of the human kind. For a seed to produce fruit, it must be planted in the soil that consists of dirt, fertilizer, and sometimes worms. It's a messy place for the seed to live, yet necessary for it to fulfill its purpose. We all are aware that being in relationship with people is messy, complicated, and at times trying. Community soil is made up of many personalities, values, life experiences, all of which will at some point come in conflict with our own. Yet like the seed needs soil, the dirt of relationships is essential for our personal growth and fruitfulness. It is the aggravation of the soil that releases the life of the seed to carry out its destiny. On the outside of the seed is a protective membrane called the seed coat. In order for the DNA of the seed to be released, the seed coat must be removed. It is the caustic environment of the soil, aided by water, that breaks down the seed coat and allows the bud to make its way through the soil. If we are to reproduce as people of God, we must stay in the soil of relationships long enough for our seed coat to be worn off by rubbing shoulders with others in the journey of faith. Iron sharpens iron, not through separation, but by interaction. Sometimes it's messy, sometimes difficult, but if we stay engaged, it will be rewarding and life-giving. One of the most awe-inspiring experiences you can enjoy in California is found in the northern part of the state, near the coast, where the giant redwoods flourish. The story of these mammoth trees gives us a helpful illustration of the importance of growing strong together in community. You would think that a 350-foot tall tree would need deep roots, but that's not the case at all with the sequoia. Redwood trees' roots are very shallow, often only 5 to 6 feet deep, but they make up for it in width, sometimes extending up to 100 feet from the trunk. They thrive in thick groves where the roots can intertwine and even fuse together. This gives them tremendous strength against the forces of nature. This way they can withstand high winds and raging floods. So the redwoods do not survive alone, ever. They form tribes or communities. Sometimes they grow so close to each other, they merge at the base into one tree. The first thing they provide each other is strength and support, intertwining roots. Not deep, but wide, living in an embrace of others. The merged roots also meet their needs for nurture. The entire system relies on their rooted connections. When we are rooted in community, we gain strength from each other, and we get to lend our strengths to those around us. When redwoods are cut down, the remaining trees often die because the lack of shared nourishment is depleted. You see, community is not just about us, but about the needs of others that our presence offers. Others are weakened by our withdrawal, but strengthened when we are share life together, so that when the storms of life come, our strength in community will allow us to bend but not break, to grow strong and fruitful. To say we need each other is to hugely understate an essential quality for a flourishing life. Just ask those believers we met in the underground church of China. Community was so important to them that they risked imprisonment and even death to gather with others in primitive locations. They understood the essential nature of being planted among others of faith. Their very lives depended on it. So do ours. We have decided that the day of staying away from our root system is over, and giving ourselves to community with others in intimate fellowship with God.